Hi, everyone. This is Tori Vandelin with Prevent Connect and Valor US. I am so excited for this podcast you're listening to. I get to chat with my fantastic colleagues about the upcoming National Sexual Assault Conference 2021 and what folks can expect and get excited about for this all online event. This is part two of our conversation about NSAC 2021.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Klein Jimenez with Valor US and Prevent Connect, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I will say you may hear some little noises in the background. I have my little baby turkey, Apricot, here with me. So apologies if that is distracting, but she is really excited about NSAC, so I have to bring her into the combo.
I'm Carissa Gutierrez, the Communications Manager for Valor US, formerly the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault.
Hi, thanks for having me here. My name is Mo Lewis. I am the Prevention Specialist at NSVRC. That's the National Sexual Violence Resource Center.
So Tori and Carissa, I have a question for you both because I know this is our second virtual NSAC, our second online NSAC. I'm wondering if you would share a little bit about what participants can expect in terms of engagement and interaction.
Yeah, so this is quite literally not our first rodeo with doing an all online virtual NSAC. And, I think we've learned a lot just in the past year in general with, how much folks have been online and also from doing NSAC all online last year. So, we have some different like organizational things that we're doing as far as like folks are going to get a login to the conference website and they'll see like the full schedule of events and get to like pick and choose what their own personal schedule is. All of the session links will be in there too. So definitely keep an eye out on your inboxes. You'll get something from us soon inviting you to join that website. And you'll get to interact with one another and our exhibitors. So it'll feel a lot more like the in-person experience, which I think is something really special. As much as I miss like NSAC lunches and NSAC dinners, like Mo, that's like the only time that you and I get to see each other in person. So as much as like I miss being able to do that, I feel like there's such an opportunity in having NSAC online again this year. I think about like, for me personally, I think about like how I can be so much more engaged because I'm not worried about like home stuff. Like I'm not worried about like, okay, it's time to pack and I have to make sure I have the travel size bottles and make sure I have travel size bottles of everything that I need. Don't forget like your work shoes. I'm not thinking about like, oh, I have to like have somebody look after my dog while I'm gone or anything like that. It's just, folks are joining from where they are, however they are, into these amazing, innovative conversations. And I feel like that's such a special opportunity. And I'm glad that, we get to do it again, get to, build off of what we've learned from NSAC 2020 and from just what we've all been learning in the past year of online engagement. But Carissa, I'll let you talk a little bit more about what you're excited about for engagement and interactions.
Oh man, Tori, I think when you said, no, this isn't our first rodeo, and I'm like, but man, was it a rodeo? It was quite a year that we've had. And I don't think, and I know that many of us were not expecting that we would have to shift gears from an in-person National Sexual Assault Conference to a virtual one. We knew that there were people experiencing this in real time, and our own rape crisis centers and advocates that were providing victim services throughout the country were really needing to innovate and be accessible to these folks in a safe and inclusive manner. And so when the question came down the line, were we going to host the National Sexual Assault Conference? The answer was very clearly, we had to. Because so long as individuals in our community are experiencing sexual violence or issues related to that, it is our obligation to advance this conversation. And so to find ways in real time to do that was certainly an experience, a learning experience, but I can't imagine having done it any other way. I mean, we have an amazing team of very committed folks, and we're also so inspired by the work that advocate leaders do in our community that we owed it to them as well. And so it came together in a very unique way, and we were able to engage close to 3 times as many folks as we do in any given National Sexual Assault Conference. And Tori, to your point, yes, accessibility was a huge priority. How do we make sure people can actually attend safely from their home and able to engage in these conversations? And so I think that that actually provided us with a very unique opportunity, is to cast a wider net. And for individuals who maybe were just getting started in their understanding of this advocacy journey, it was an entry point. It was also, all of our workshops and plenaries were recorded and are accessible on the National Sexual Assault Conference website. And I do hear even now how these recordings continue to be used in trainings, continue to be used in certain coursework, or even being shared between friends or other folks. So it has presented opportunities. Being able to do this on a virtual platform did require a great deal of innovation and real-time kind of solutions-oriented type brainstorming. But we were very proud of what we were able to produce last year. Although there were certainly many, many challenges that were presented to us with needing to organize a virtual conference for the first time, there were also incredible opportunities. We were able to really innovate the way that we work together as a team, but also the way that we use these platforms to engage with broader audiences and to maintain that engagement as well. So in advancing this conversation around issues related to equity in order to prevent and end sexual violence, this was just one more way, one more tool in our toolkit for us to continue to have this conversation. And the ability to do that while making sure that we remained culturally competent, that we honored our legacy of the types of folks that were a part of this organization and continue to be a part of these conferences as well, strengthening and growing our network, but also inviting people into the conversation that ordinarily would not have known about it, were all opportunities and ways that we were able to use the virtual platform to do this work. So yeah, this is round 2. I think there were a lot of lessons learned, but also a lot of excitement around this second virtual conference.
Carissa, you mentioned one thing about accessibility. I think in talking about how do we get folks engaged and honor the experiences of folks who are joining, I do want folks who are listening to know that we are, just as we have with in-person NSAC, we're offering Spanish interpretation for all sessions, all plenaries, as well as ASL interpreters at all of them. And then because we're online, we have the opportunity to offer closed captioning in all of them as well too. So just wanted to let folks know some of those accessibility features to look out for.
Thanks, Tori and Carissa. I know a lot of work goes into doing a virtual event. In some ways, it seems like it would be easier, but it is not. It is just different. But I know that there's been so much detail put into making it a space where people can engage and network and feel like they're part of the event itself, and also making things accessible. So thank you both so much. I am really looking forward to the plenaries. I love an NSAC plenary. They always fill me up and make me feel energized and excited, and I think a plenary is supposed to inspire many times, and that is certainly what they do for me. But I'd love to hear from the three of you about what you're looking forward to. What are you most excited about?
Ashley, I have to echo what you just said. The plenaries are pretty stellar. And to be able to hear firsthand from these incredible voices that are just really elevating these stories on a national or even global scale is so amazing. And I'm excited to hear from like Jamia. I'm excited to hear from Andrea. I'm excited to hear from Lydia, and I'm excited to hear from all these folks. And it'll be really great. But when I think about one of the workshops that really stood out to me, they all are just so well planned. And I have to be honest, I've been privy to a few of those like planning documents, and I just think there's so much passion and commitment to making sure that these spaces are properly or accurately represented in this work. And so when I think of something like, social justice movements working in solidarity, to really honor that legacy of social justice and advocacy in the work we do is so important. And so I'm really excited for workshops like that, but also excited for, conversations that I am somewhat familiar with, but hope to really strengthen my knowledge of, like sexual violence and disability. It's like, why does every movement need disability justice? Why should we be talking about this? And to us, it may be, we understand it to some extent, but to really engage with it and understanding what our role in our community is in advancing that conversation, I think is going to be very impactful. So I'm excited for a lot of these workshops, and I wish I could attend them all in real time. But just excited also because I don't know if Tori mentioned this, but the fact is we're going to have a very unique virtual platform to host this conference. So we'll be able to engage with other participants in real time. So although it is not the same thing as meeting in person, the ability to speak one-on-one with other attendees, or even, to send messages to other folks there, will be something that we can do. And so if you haven't already, I would encourage people to register so that you have access to this platform sooner than later. But yeah, so Mo, I'm excited to hear what you also are excited about.
Well, I love that you were talking, Carissa, about people having conversations with each other, because that is the thing I love most about NSAC. And even NSAC happening online, the thing that I love to see the most are the people connecting with each other in the comments and in the text chat during workshops, and like just all the time. That's the best part of it to me, is people from different parts of the country, different territories coming together and getting to like learn about different new things and expand kind of our frame of how we're doing this work and how we're thinking about this work. And there are always so many cool connections to be made. And I just am really looking forward to that. So hearing you say that there's still going to be a way for people to make those individual connections just kind of made me extra excited about NSAC for this year. So thanks for bringing that up.
You both have like such great things, and Ashley too, that like you're excited about and looking forward to NSAC. And I think like a lot of the times when somebody asks me like, what are you most looking forward to at NSAC, it feels like how a lot of parents say, like, that's asking me to choose my favorite child. I feel like I relate to that sentiment a little bit when it comes to saying what I'm most excited about for NSAC. But I think one thing that I'm like extra particularly looking forward to is the workshop that the Resonance Network is putting on. It's called Reimagining a World Beyond Sexual Violence, Embodying Action. And they're going to have different speakers and storytellers than they had at their 2020 NSAC workshop. But the workshop that they did at the 2020 NSAC online, it just like, it rocked me to my core. Like, it was so moving and like felt so like healing and whole and motivating, and just really like opened my heart and opened my mind to think about the ways that like everyday actions build up to a world without sexual violence. So I'm really excited to see what happens in that workshop this year, considering like how, a year later that work, thinking of that workshop is giving me chills and making me so excited.
Now I'm jealous because I want to go to that one. And of course, there's too many things going on at once that are so great. So I'll have to definitely catch the recording. Okay, last question for us all. And that is, I'm wondering, what are you hoping NSAC 2021 does to impact the movement to end sexual violence?
I have some big hopes. I think really I'm hoping that people look inward and think about like not only like what can we change about the work that we do that's outward facing, but what are the changes that we need to make with our internal work, with ourselves, with the way that we think about this work, with the partnerships that we have, with the ways that our organizations are structured, with the way that we use and share or don't share power and money. I just really hope that that is something that happens, and I really think that it will, based on all of the workshops and plenaries and conversations that are going to be going on. This is a moment where we really need to be doing this if we're not already. So I hope that that is something that comes from the conference.
I really appreciate that you brought all that up, because I feel really similarly that, like, for me, historically, like, my first NSAC was 2018. So this will be my fourth NSAC. Wow. And I feel like whenever I have attended NSAC, I always feel like it's just such a moment to like pause and recalibrate in a way. And I feel like that is so unique from, like, trainings and web conferences and things like that I attend throughout the year, that like this big gathering of like everybody sitting and learning the same things, and listening to the same really impactful speakers and workshops. I feel like I look forward to like that opportunity to kind of do some of that like check-in of how am I living into my values, how what are things that I can be doing differently with regards to advancing equity and ending sexual violence. So my hope is that folks will really have a chance to like sit with what they learn at NSAC, and be able to start to process ways to make some tangible changes throughout the year, like I know that I'll be doing for NSAC this year.
So much of my hope is also what I've been seeing play out in real time, especially after this past NSAC. The way that I see that a lot of these conversations that were captured during NSAC continue to be used or shared gives me a lot of hope. I think that in the line of work that some of us do, any conversations that are happening around sexual violence are either too insular or happening only within our community, or only when we speak directly to journalists. But to have these intersectional conversations in a very public way, in a public forum, is not something I see very often. And that gives me hope, is that people have access to these conversations, and as you said, can sit with them and kind of reflect on where they're at in their understanding, but also in what their role is in all of this. And really, that's what we're looking for, is, or we want for so many of us, is these are our communities. These are our people, and how do we show up for them? And so my hope is that these conversations will continue to ripple throughout our networks and throughout our spaces. And when other movements or other organizations are having their very public conversations, they know that they also need to incorporate or involve or apply some of the conversations that are happening within our field as well. And so I think collectively, all of us aligning with the strengths of our community is what's going to advance equity and what is ultimately going to prevent and end violence. So that's my hope. My hope is that conversations are one way for us to get started, but the more conversations we have, the more stories we share, the more spaces that we're able to be a part of and incorporate others, the more we can begin to understand that our movements are not isolated from one another, but rather we are all really collectively in the same one. And so that is my hope, is that we continue to see this a bit more clearly as we move forward.
Wow. Well, I definitely share all of the hopes that you all just laid out. And I think I'll just add, I guess my biggest hope is that I know that everyone is tired, among other things. And so I hope that participants and all of the speakers really, leave with a sense of belonging and purpose and inspiration. I hope that people find something to fill them up, whether that's a moment of healing or a moment of connection. That's my hope, is just that folks leave a little more whole than maybe they're currently feeling. I think that's all the questions. I've had a great time chatting with you all about NSAC. Really looking forward to it, and we don't have to look forward too much longer because it is coming.
Thanks for listening. Follow along with other Prevent Connect podcasts at preventconnect.org/podcast.